Hi everyone, and welcome back to Basics with Nick and Craftscope. After the last natter with Nick, I did ask for requests, of anything you'd like to see, anything you'd like me to include in the Back to Basics series. I've had quite a few, not as many as I thought we'd have, but enough to get started with. And I'll continue doing them as long as I have requests. If I don't, then obviously I'll realise that either we've exhausted things that you want to see, or this isn't really what people want me to be doing, so I'll just stick with the natter with Nick instead. So I started the series off really because a few people we forget about the new crafters, and it came about really a conversation after the natter with Nick. So I thought I'd start it off, so we'll just see how it goes. So today what I'm going to do is some landscapes. It was one of the requests I had was how to do a simple landscape with copier paper, ripped copier paper. Now before I start, I'm going to have to tell you about this because this is one of my go-tos, a go-to set. It's by Clarity. I love my moon masks. It's great with the landscape, day or night. You can use it for the sun, the moon. You get some hills, some landscapes, positive and negative. You've got a castle and some bunting. You've got some fantastic clouds. A brilliant sort of a rooftop landscape as well, which is fantastic. I used it in one of my shows with the balloons and my faces. So if you're after something like that, then that's brilliant. But to start off and to do things differently, because sometimes you don't want to use exactly the same landscape all the time, so copier paper is great as well. So that's what I'm going to do today, is the copier paper. So here I've got an 8x8 card blank, and I've cut a 7 3/4 inch piece of copier paper. And then inside I've cut the Trisky Decagon die inside it. That will give us a nice shape. Now keep your other piece, because afterwards, once we've done the landscape, we might use that to cover up what we've done and do something around the edge. So it's always worth keeping that rather than throwing it away. So to start with, what we're going to do is rip some copier paper. So just a regular sheet of copier paper. I usually start down this end because then we can always use the other side, and just rip along. Now for the hills, you want a little bit of more of a jaggedy look. So that is going to make a really nice hillscape for further up. But below we want some more like flatter landscape. So keep both of these parts, because these will come in handy afterwards when we want to mask off the bottom. So I'm just going to put them aside and just show you so for the flatter hills and for the flatter landscape, just don't move your copier paper around so much. Just take it slowly. I mean, if you do make a mistake, well actually there isn't any mistakes, because landscape's landscape. It's it's not all the same. So here you can see we've got some flatter areas that we can use closer to the bottom. I'm just going to put those aside for now, and then we can get started. So my go-to all the time whenever I do a landscape is I like to use a moon or a sun. So I swear by the Clarity moon mask really. They're brilliant to use. So let's have a look. Where should we put it? So I think just about there, I think will be nice. We'll just pop that there in the sky. Again, if you want to do it with paper, you've got your basic dies. You can cut a basic circle shape out yourself. Just does exactly the same. No problem at all there. Now today I'm going to start off, I think, with the sky. So let's see. Right, so with our sky, I'm going to need the negative of our mountains, So I'm just going to sort out those. So yeah, we want the negative on mountains, which is, let's see, we'll do there. So just a little bit of adhesive spray on the back first before we start. You don't need much at all. And then we'll pop that in place on our card. I think about there. There we are. And then I'm going to start off with a lightish blue. So here I'm going to use first of all the Salty Ocean. The Salty Ocean Distressing. If I just pop it there for you. And I'll move that there as well so you can see it. So what I usually do is I tap onto my smoothie, a little bit onto my work surface, and then you can use this as well just to check what sort of depth of colour you're going to get. So I'm just going to move those that distress ink out of the way now. Now turn your paper. Now what I forgot to tell you is, or did I tell you about the edge? I'll just tell you again quickly. So with this, what I've done is I've left an edge all around the card. So the card's 8 by 8, the piece of paper is 7 3/4 by 7 3/4, and I've just stuck it so that we've got a very thin border around the edge. Now what this means is that we can do the faux edging, and I'm sure I've told you that, but if I haven't, I've told you again. So then, taking our colour, just tap it off a little bit more just to make sure, and then just very lightly, you don't want to use much pressure at all, just gradually smooth in from the edges. I always like to start from the top, even though we're going to deepen this down. Whoops, Daisy. Even though we're going to deepen this down, I've got too much ink on that now. Should have turned my paper around. Very little pressure, and what we want to do here is put a lot of colour down, of the lighter colour, but fade out towards where the moon is. It will look a mess as you start, so what I should have done was turn that piece when I worked from the other side. Then I wouldn't have got a great big clump of ink there. There's going to be a halo around the moon, so you know you want a lighter area around this. But with this first colour, we're just putting the shade down. This is the colour that's going to show as your lightest, so that this area here where we've got the light shining down, that's where we're going to get that. So just bring that in a little bit deeper now. These are very old smoothies now, I really need to sort of replace them. Now what you want to do at this point is you want to decide what colour you're going to use around your edge. If you're going to use the greens, then really you need to keep when you're working with the sky, you need to keep this away. I'm going to use blue around here because I want a really nice deep edge, so I'm going to use sort of the blue, and then I'm going to use the green at the bottom to just match what we're doing. So I'm just going to try and get rid of that. Now we want to work round, because round the edges is where we want a real nice deep colour. So if we build it up with the lightest blue first, it builds up the deeper colour a lot easier. And obviously I'm rushing a bit more today on the video than I would do if I was blending at home, because I love blending. It's one of my favourite things. You can see my spongy smoothies sort of maybe at the end of its life. So I'm just going to do a little bit more lighter blue there, just get rid of that. And you can come round the edge and just build up that blue around the edge. Now, as it goes now, the lighter blue, that would be a really nice, cloudy, daytime sky. And if it was for the daytime, then I'd stop there, because we've got some really nice hazy lighter patches. And if I just peel this back a little bit, you can see we've got the start of the hills there. We won't peel it back because we haven't finished with the sky. This one's going to be a nighttime sky first. So what I'm going to do is take my next colour. Now I like Blueprint Sketch a lot. Blueprint Sketch and Chipped Sapphire. Sometimes what I like to do is I blend the Shaded Lilac, then move on to the Blueprint Sketch and then finish off with Chipped Sapphire, and for a really deep blue you can actually come in even darker through the top, and I'll show you that a bit later. Put that one away. So yeah, here we are. We're going to take the Blueprint Sketch. Now I've got a feeling this one's also at the end of its life, so I might have to swap pads in a minute. So just tap. Oh, it might be alright here. Right, so now what we want to do is bring in some deeper colour. Again, light pressure, bringing it in off your page. It's patience really with this. It's not so much skill as patience. I think people tend to, and quality of card. I mean, this is again what I'll say. You know, you're getting a nice blend there. I hope it shows nicely on the camera because sometimes it doesn't pick up. But you're getting a nice blend there. Apart from, you know, if you put too much ink on like I did at the beginning, that's when you get those awful big splodges of colour. I'm going to turn it round a bit because we want to blend this out a bit more, so I'm going to take a little bit colour off my ink, colour off my smoothie, and bring it in again, concentrating around the edges, and again round your edges of your card at the same time. That's a good way of removing your ink actually as well, if you've got too much on. You don't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be a perfect line around the edge. So we're going to bring that in and blend out this line, so you can see we're getting a really nice deep texture, deep colour around the edges. And go lighter and lighter and lighter, sort of into the centre where we've got our halo. Just get the cloth, move that across. There we are, so you can see that coming along now. You could even get away with that as a nice summer's day depending on what sort of colours you use around here. But you can see that's blending from really nice dark to the light, but without definite lines. So I still want to get that deeper around the edges, so we're going to put some more ink on. Again, start at the edges, deepen your colour around the edge first, and then start coming in off your card. A little bit more pressure, and this time you just want to try and work around the edges without getting too much colour in the inside. Now as you build up your colour, you start getting more of a texture. Now that's where the chalk content in the paper is, it's getting more and more saturated with the colour. But you know, the sky's not a perfect one colour. There we are. So I think if I turn that around so you can see, we're still getting deeper at the edges, but we're still keeping the light colour in the centre. This is starting to look more white now because we've got the contrast. So I'm going to take my new Blueprint Sketch, because it is a bit more juicy, because I want to get more and more blue into that. So now we want to work, you know, leave this. In fact, this is a great dye to use for this because it gives you segments of sky, if you like. So if we take this as our next segment, so we want to keep the deeper colour around here blending through, but keeping that section there lighter. So bring it in again from the edge, and this time, as I say, go from edge to edge like that, stopping at that mark. We can add even more ink now, take it off around the edges as before. There we are. Take off a little bit more so we can blend that line out. I've just put a line in there now. There we are. Turn that around and show you again. So now we're getting it a lot deeper this side, lighter in the middle, but we're still keeping it lighter there, so this one's affected more by the moon, so it's not as dark as this side. So next when I take in my darker colour, which is going to be the chipped sapphire, if we concentrate more maybe halfway down these second lines, so we keep the colour here. So I'm going to use the same sponge for the chipped sapphire. I've got the air conditioning on here because it is really, really, really hot today, and it's making my nose run. I'm really sorry. Right, so here's our chipped sapphire, and it doesn't make a great, huge difference, as you can see, but we're still getting the deeper colour coming through. I think this is another pad that needs replacing now, by the look of it. I'm really unlucky, aren't I? Every single pad I've got seems to be running out all at the same time. There we are. Well, they don't last forever, do they, unfortunately. I think I've said to a lot of you, one thing I hate is replacing things, because they're things that you get used to having all the time and you forget that they need replacing. So, you know, whereas we all love getting new things, unfortunately sometimes the money that we want on the new things has to go on the replacements, which is a bit sad sometimes, but you know, we all like to use all the stuff, don't we? Right, so now I want to blend this through, so I'm taking the lighter smoothie again, just to blend this through just a little bit more, just so that I am speeding it up a lot for the video, because I'm sure you're going to get bored stiff otherwise. I'll just wipe those bits off, and I'm just going to excuse me for one moment. I'm really sorry about that. Right, so I think that's our sky done. No, it isn't. I'm just going to add some black. This might ruin it, but I want to show you with the black soot. This is my dedicated black soot sponge. I don't think I need any more black soot on it because there's plenty on there. I'm sure you'll find the same. You don't need to keep reapplying the black soot. It's a really strong carbon black colour, and it's quite concentrated. You don't need to keep doing it. So here we want to really just keep it in that area there, just to really darken the sky down. And if you watch, there we are. Try not to talk, I'm getting a bit out of breath here doing this. Right, there we are. So that's just deepened just the very edge. We've kept it off here because we want to keep this blue, but that gives the illusion then of like the sky as you'd see it in real life. I'll just turn it around and show you a bit more. So we put the black soot around this area here, and you can see now that colour graduates down to the white. So that's the top of our card. I think the sky is finished now. So we're going to take this away, and that's our hill at the start of our hillscape. I've got to make sure I get the right bottom colour now, haven't I? I'm just looking around. I'm hoping I've got my hickory smoke around. Right, so that's our sky. So here we are. This is if I just show you, this is how we tore it, and this gives us the protection from the sky, so we haven't got, if you have a look, there we are. So that's just roughly the same as our hills. Now what I like to do with a proper clarity mask, obviously what you get is you get the perfect line. You won't with this, because it's copy paper, and obviously the fibres in it aren't going to be exactly like they are with the material that Barbara uses for those. We want to get it as close as we can. Now what I like to do is, because we've got the moon here, the moon's going to be shining on these edges of the hills. So if you go slightly past the mark, if you line it up first, which is there, and then you just slightly move it, then what you do is you get a very light, it's called halo, you get halo effect, but for this type of thing I think it really works well, because the moon would be shining down and it'd be hitting the top of those hills. So that's what we want to do. So I'm just going to spray this with a bit of tempering adhesive again. Just leave that to dry a little bit, and I'll just have a look if I can find my hickory smoke, which I bet you I can't. So we will just try something else. Right then, so let's put this in place. As I say, you want to line it up more or less as best as you can, and then I'll just leave it like that. We can always tidy that up afterwards, and we can add other bits and bobs to hide it up if it's too much. So what I usually like to do first is start off with the green. Now if I start off with the green, I can show you how we make it night time instead of daytime, or how I like to do it. It's not the definite right answer, you know, lots of people do different things. This is how I like to do it. So we get our, this time I'm using Mowed Lawn. Tap some on the edge, just check what we're getting. Yep, so here we are. So this one, I know there's not much on that sponge, so I'm going to come through. What you're doing here is you're hardly going onto the paper at all. Just circular motions, just to bring that first piece in. Now that's going to give us the illusion of the green. And then just start gradually bringing it down. Because what that happens then is you're getting a concentration of colour when you first bring the ink onto the page. Just doing those small circular movements. And then as you move down, you're putting less and less ink on, so you're giving that depth of colour through there. So that's our first hill. Now if I quickly just peel a bit off for you so you can see. In fact, look, I've left far too much halo on there, that's spotty. I hadn't realised I'd left quite so much on there. So what I'm going to do is move that back up, because I hadn't realised I'd moved it quite as much as that. And you won't ever get a hill like that, will you? Or the moonlight won't be shining as much as that. So now I want to deepen it down. We've got black soot here. I'm going to use the black soot. Normally I'd use hickory smoke or maybe watering can, archival watering can, and bring this through. Let's just make sure that's that down. Just gradually with this one, because we don't want great thick black hills. We still want to give the illusion of the green, but in the night time. You know, if you have a look at hills in the night time, you don't see them as black. You see them as whatever colour they are naturally, so you'd see the green, but a subdued green. You know, so there's sort of a blackness about them. I'm sure you don't understand what I mean. I'm maybe not very good at explaining what I mean. So this is bringing in our first mountain range. There we are. Now I'm going to leave that on for now, because we want to still protect our sky, but we want to be adding more to the picture. So where's my little thin piece that I had? Oh, here we are. So this was the bottom here. So what I want to do is turn it round, because we want things to look different. So we still want like a mountainy range. So say for instance we bring that maybe to about there. So I'm just going to spray the back of this, because obviously we used the front before. In fact, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll just tear another hill, because then if you want to see again, and it, you know, the hills are different. There we are. So let's have a look what that looks like. Yeah, that's better. So I'll just spray that. So we leave this in place, as I say, and now we're going to put our next piece in. So just roughly gauge where you want it. I think it looks quite good, maybe about there. Now what I want to do now is I want to work from the other side. So again, Mowed Lawn. Oops, I should have checked that first, shouldn't I? That's the top tip. Check your inks. I haven't put any more ink on there, but there's plenty on there without having to add any. So now what I'm doing is working from, you know, in effect this is like we were doing for the sky. Again, bring small circular movements, just bringing that onto the page. Then bring that up a bit further just to meet those hills. And now we can see we've got a much lighter, almost like a line, hopefully you can see that. You've got like a line where the colours are just blending, so you've got a deeper green here, then you've got, so it makes it look like that. Then we're taking our black soot again, no extra black soot on it, bringing that in, just deepening down those greens so it looks a little bit more night-timey. It's really making them look a lot more subtle. Yeah, so we take that one off. There we are. And now I'm going to work from the other side, so we want to put that on there like that. And this one, it really doesn't matter if you overlap now. So if I start maybe about there. Now what I do now is, because we've done the first two shapes, is you can really bring this colour quite roughly down. Still concentrating around those edges, but you know you're going to go over and over this bottom piece, so you can put the colour in all in one go. Cool, the weather here, it certainly doesn't help you smoothies. That's only been, this is the second wash of those ones, and they're already starting to fall apart. Right, then we're going to go in with our black again, like I said before, so we're going to deepen that colour. Let me just turn this around. So we're going to deepen that colour now. I wanted to do it this way. Normally I work from the bottom up, but I thought I'd try something different this time while I'm showing you. So we take that one off, leaving our sky in place, and then I'm going to start to work from the bottom again now. So we're going to take our green again. Really deepen that colour in. You can see you're getting a really nice undulation of the grass there. Then we're going to bring in our black again, just to darken that down. I'm going to lose that piece in a minute. Let's speed this along a little bit. We're going to swap to our other piece. So this is just like the mountains, sorry, the hills now. Now I'm going to turn it round that way, and a little bit of green, so we get our mowed lawn again. Need a little bit more mowed lawn now. Take a little bit off. What I'm going to do is now, after this, I'm going to move the piece back up, and then I can show you the difference. So we take that off. We take just one more there. If we do the brushing motion around the bottom, then you get like a deeper green. Yeah, a little bit more. And I want to deepen this green even more because it's fairly pale. And then if we bring in the black again. Oh dear, I'm getting in the mess here, I can't find colours. Take quite a bit of that colour off and then just sweep side to side. I'm a bit worried about taking that away, so I'm going to deepen it up by bringing that colour in here. So sweep downwards. Let's have a look what that's looking like now. I can't believe what a big fat white line I've got there this time. That's probably because I'm maybe a bit nervous about the camera. So let's wipe that off. It's funny, I never do things like that. It's never quite as bad as that, I must say. What we can do is, if we get a little bit of green, we can work into it without ruining it too much. There we are. That's just coloured it so it's not so stark. We'll be adding some trees in a minute, so that doesn't affect us too much. If we just get our mountain range back a little bit. Right, so now we want to see where we got our trees. Now I'm going to use the Clarity trees. I love these, a real go-to. I'd recommend everyone has them in their stash. You can make, just from these two trees, you can make, well, I don't even dare to think how many different effects you can get with these. So they're what we're going to be using. We'll just get rid of all these inks out of the way, and then I'm not. It's really difficult when you're trying to work in a really small area that gets smaller and smaller and smaller, like most of ours do, don't they? So with this, I want some. I want to use my VersaFine Clair black on this. Now, how we do the hills, how do we do the trees? Right, so first of all we want to find our masks that we've just used. No, that's not going to be the right one. I know, we'll work a little bit further down then, so that's more or less that one. You can see that's roughly the right one. So up here we're going to have trees that are further away. So I really do want to find that one though. Where on earth have I put it? It's really strange. Right, we'll have to cheat here then. So we want to find one that roughly fits, because we're going to put a very small tree just up here. So we take the smallest tree, and you only need to ink up the very top here. So if we just ink that off, check it, fine. So we want the tree here, we've masked off because obviously no tree grows, you need to do it properly. So, excuse my head, we just pop the tree there, there we are. And if you take that away, you've got a hill, you've got the tree coming from behind the hill, and maybe a few little bushes there as well. And then if we choose another one, just say there, just move that over there a bit. Again, just the tip of the tree only, and probably about that much there. There we are. And then that gives us another little tree behind the, you know, going quite far back. So then we want to come a bit forward. Now in this area you're going to get a little bit more of the tree. So again, I'd still use the same smaller tree, but you can, there we are. So if we put that one about there, whoops, a daisy, there we are, that's again coming from behind the, and then maybe another one there, there we are, and let's just leave that for there for now. Now we're coming quite forward now, so the next hill we've got is round about there. So now I'd go in maybe with a full tree, but I always check on a piece of paper first just to make sure. There we are. Now if we use our piece of paper anyway and just place it roughly, can you see if I move that up to about there, and if we get our tree we can bring that and put it there, so we're not getting the whole trunk. but you see it comes from the ground rather than stuck in the air. So I'd do one there, and actually I'd leave that one there. Now let's move on to the big tree. And what I'd do here is you could give the real illusion of distance by maybe having one half on, half off just there, and then having another one a bit further down. So let's just show you what that would look like. I'm going to tap the ink this time. So I'm just going to ink up that way. Take the tree. This is where it's a good idea with copy paper, because you might find you get if you use something too thick, you can get where it doesn't actually print out nicely. So I'm going to just do it there. And fingers crossed, yep, so that's brought the tree in from that area. They stamp beautifully, these stamps. I love Clarity stamps. And then we can bring another one forward, which will really give us a bit more perspective. And if we do that about here, I think. There we are. I think that's enough trees there just for now, because it is like quite a simple, or more of a simple demonstration. So they're the little trees, and this is sort of more of a naturalistic landscape here. Now round here I haven't actually edged the card properly. I haven't finished edging the card. Now because I haven't got any green on the edge, I'm going to use the blueprint sketch to finish it off. So we can just bring in the blueprint sketch, and then just, it's like we've used a blue matte and layer. So just go right in there and blend that through. Just turn the card. Sorry, I've got masking tape so I can see what where my working space can be without going out of camera. Now I was going to do, I can hear Leonie's on already, I'm missing her. I had so many comments and messages to answer earlier that I'm running late today, so I didn't want to miss the craft along, but hopefully I won't miss too much of it. I'm sure all of you are watching and crafting along. I'll be able to watch a little bit what I've missed, I'll be able to watch and catch up. There we are. So that's given us our foam mat and layer. Now I'm going to peel this off, and hopefully I haven't saturated it too much so that it's worked. So get that end up. Oh dear. It's alright, we can get that off afterwards. What I did was I sprayed this and put it down on the paper, and I usually take a bit off on my t-shirt first, or on another piece of paper, so it looks like I've stuck down a little bit too much, but hopefully that won't show up too badly on camera. And I've got inky fingers as well. Right, so that is the first part. Let's get rid of the moon. Get my beloved pokey tool. There we are. Let's pop that away so I don't lose it. There we are, so that is the finished card. Now, Distress ink takes a while to work on the card, so you know what I usually tell you is to go over and rub all these little bits off. Don't do that right away, do that afterwards, because otherwise what you'll find is you'll start spreading all your ink all over onto your white space. I'm sometimes really impatient, so I try and do it really gently in here. I wanted to get rid of that blue to show you that it was I'm not going to do it anymore because I know I'll spoil it. And the same with the moon. You could do the moon because you know, you can bring a little bit of the blue into it, but really I'd suggest that you wait at home until it's completely dry before you start rubbing all these little bits of extra off. there. So I'm sure you can get the idea there. So afterwards you just get your cloth and give it a real nice rub over there, and so you see you've got your nice mat round. You could do my little trick where you get your little pen and do the edge. I personally wouldn't here because I think that's really nice. It gives you more the illusion of going in. Another thing you could do is, after you've done that, again I'd wait for this to dry really, but you can put your mask back in, or you'd be using this as a mask now. Pop that in place. Let me see. Can't do that. Oh, have I used the wrong one here? Let me just check that one. I think I've used the wrong. I brought the wrong size thing in. No, I haven't. There's two different sizes. I've got one for that one and one for this one. So, do this properly. Sorry. These are all things that'll happen at home anyway. Can't get it back today. Can't. There we are. That's more or less right, isn't it? We'll just use it like that for now. Right. So what you could do there is pop that in place, and then get something else that you want to put around the edge. You could use the. What could you use? You could use. You could use some Floral Companions stamps, put some leaves around there, which is really nice. You could either stamp them so they're flat, or maybe stamp them so they're flat and then go with some 3D ones over the top as well, so it gives you a lot more depth there. But that's the first card. Let's have a look what we're doing for time. Oh dear, it's 42 minutes already. I was going to do 2. I'll stop now. Leave it at that one card, and then I'll maybe do another video with the second card, because I think that would be better, because you might be bored and what have you. So that's that. I just wanted to quickly show you some other things. Now these are only printed off my computer because I haven't got the originals, but I wanted to show you some other landscapes at the same time. This is done exactly the same, but what I've used for the landscape here is I've used Leonie Sparkle pens with some of her gorgeous stamps. So I've used the masking technique, so I've put the houses in place, and then I've gone in and done the landscape. That's a really nice one. Here I've done something very similar. I've done the landscape in the back, done here with my hickory smoke, nice moon again, and I've used some stencils, and then I've done a bit of parchment so it looks like you're looking into the picture. Here's another one. I did this with Leonie's collection. This instead of the shape I've just shown you, I used one of her hearts, and then I've done the landscape in sort of reds, oranges. Here I think I used aged mahogany, honey, what is it, wild honey, and things like that, and left it a really nice rich colour. The colours aren't super on here because they're I printed them off today to show you. Here I used some of the more deserty colours, a lighter sky, and here I've used the feathers from Be Crafty, and these are actually individual feathers that I put together using a masking technique to make this into a headdress. And this one looks really dreadful really, because I don't know why it's so dark, but this I've actually used a stencil, one of the Clarity stencils, and then I've put this inside, so that's another nice one. This is actually a nice picture to look on Craftscape Makes, because the original's up there as the page. And then obviously I'll just show you once more, this is the card we've just done, so you can see it's got a really nice blend. You saw me do it from step by step, so you can see that, you know, it's fairly easy to do. Just be careful here. You can see I've got really quite a big halo that you wouldn't really want, but it doesn't affect it too badly. It could be hills behind that are being really lit up by the moon, and then just the nice trees around the edge. There you are. So thank you ever so much for joining me today for this Back to Basics. Please, 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 if you have got any ideas, if there's anything you want to see, leave it on the comments below. That way I've got all of the ideas in one place, and I don't have to look round everywhere to find people's ideas. That'd be really helpful. So I'm going to do my next video now. Enjoy Leonie's craft along, because that's what I'm just going to do first before I do my next demonstration, and I'll see you soon. Take care everyone. Oh, don't forget your samples. If you want to show me any of your work, send it to my address. It's Nick Roberts, STR 6th, number 7, Garvan, Silistra, 7589, Bulgaria. And we'll show them on the wall for the Natter with Nick. Alright, take care of yourselves everyone. Bye.